Yo, SMP and PMU artists, let me put you on game. I'm David Santiago with Hustle Butter, and if you're not using our products in your studio yet, you're missing out. For real. This isn't just some aftercare bomb. Hustle Butter is a full line of premium products trusted by top SMP and PMU artists worldwide, including moi. I use it during every session and make sure my clients leave with it in hand. But here's the real play. You can become an authorized Hustle Butter wholesaler. That means discounted pricing, a dedicated rep, and $40 off your first order. Stock your studio, resell to your clients, and create a solid stream of extra income. Artists and studios around the world are selling Hustle Butter every single day. Why not you? Sign up takes less than 60 seconds. Head to hustlebutter.com, click wholesale, and lock it in. This is Hustle Butter, and you already know you can't knock the hustle. Since 2008, Bishop has been one of the most reputable brands in the tattoo industry. And it goes without saying why that same quality transitions seamlessly into the SMP industry. From their SMP Power Wand built for precision and comfort, to SMP specific needles designed for flawless impressions, and pigments engineered for consistency, you're working with the best in the game. I trust Bishop SMP because they set the standard for artists who want to elevate their craft. Level up your results. Visit bishopsmp.com and experience the difference.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Scalp Solutions Podcast. I'm your host, David Santiago, and today I got a very special guest back in the building. Someone you might remember from one of our most popular episodes. I'm talking about James Viola, the founder of Seven Figure SMP and the Facebook ads guru himself. I know he doesn't like me to, put him on blast like that, but that's what we rolling with, all right? So if you've ever seen an SMP or a PMU artist suddenly blowing up online, chances are James has something to do with it. But this time we're going to be switching some gears because the game is changing, and it's called artificial intelligence. AI is transforming how we market, how we create content, and even communicate with our clients. So I brought James back to break it all down to show us exactly how SMP and PMU artists can start leveraging AI to save time, to make smarter marketing moves, and level up their business in 2025 and beyond, because we're almost closing up for 2025. But trust me, this is one episode that you don't want to skip. So let's get right into it. James, how are you, my brother? Welcome back to the podcast.
Yeah, thank you, brother. Thanks for having me back. I appreciate it.
Of course, brother. Listen, my goal this episode is to get into the following topics in regards to AI for SMP and PMU artists, right? I know you said, Dave, I'm going to be an open book, whatever you want to ask. I told you, I was like, James, you want me to let you know what I'm planning on asking you first, just in case, you don't want to give out a little too much information. And you was like, listen, brother, I don't care. No gatekeeping. The gates are wide open. So let's start with, let's give them a little bit. I think
Okay.
this will be good to talk about. I want to talk about the creatives, right? I want to talk about visual hooks. I'd like to talk about sales, reactivations, and closing sales, all within the scope of AI. That being
Okay.
said, I broke it down into segments for you. I came prepared today, all right? I came prepared today, all right, bro?
Yeah, you're gonna have to keep me on the rails too. Make sure I don't get too long winded.
I know you
right?
get
Otherwise,
excited. You get excited.
Yep.
Like this is what gets you going. So with this segment, I want to talk about the creative and visual hooks. And my first question to you is, how can SMP and PMU artists use AI to come up with fresh, scroll stopping creative ideas or visual hooks for their ads and social content?
Yeah. Well, I mean, geez, the opportunity is essentially limitless at this point in terms of what they're able to do already. And the other thing to keep in mind is today is the worst that it's ever going to be, right? So it's only going to continue to improve dramatically from where it is to where it'll go. Of course, we do need to kind of be careful, especially in an industry like scalp micropigmentation and PMU, that we're using it in creative ways that are not misleading, of course, right? Which I'm sure you can kind of expand upon there. But ultimately, like, one great style of ad is more of like using it for image ads that are kind of more illustrated, like it's obvious that it's illustrated, right? Because those are visually appealing and they do stop the scroll. And you're also not kind of like trying to portray that it's real because it's obvious that it's an illustration. So that's actually one style that not only have we been using on behalf of our clients, but also in our own agency ads. And we've seen some really good success with those type of image ads that are generated by AI. And then in addition to that, just to kind of touch on the visual hook component, geez, the stuff that you can do, the platform that I use for that type of thing is called Google VO3. And it's really, only limited by your imagination, right? So there's not a whole lot that you can't do with it. Essentially, you can upload an image of yourself and make yourself the main character in the visual hook that you create within Google VO3. Obviously, I'm sure you've seen several viral trends, like Bigfoot and things that nature. A lot of those are created with Google VO3 as well. So it's really only limited by your imagination, right? But is there anything specific that you want to go into with regards to how you can potentially utilize that?
Like, yes. Can AI actually help artists design or edit the visuals, like a before and after mock-ups, captions, or video reels that convert better?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the way that VO3 works is that it puts things out in like 8-second clips, right? But obviously, your video ads and reels are really not longer than a minute anyway, right? So, you don't need more than 5 or 6 clips, stitched together to where you could theoretically put together an ad that is only, AI. So, yes, it could certainly help in that regard. And then, as far as the ideation, right, coming up with the idea that you have for the ad, that's also a conversation that you can have just with a standard, ChatGPT or Grok, whatever your preferred AI language model is, right? And really, that's the biggest thing that I tell people that ask me personally for guidance on how to, have their ChatGPT give them better outputs and things of that nature with regards to my clients is literally spending time on the platform, having it get to know your personality and your business is ultimately what's going to make your own personalized experience within whatever AI platform you're using, produce better outputs specifically for you than anybody else would be able to do.
Yeah, I was gonna get into my next question, like how could we, like, what would be some practical ways that artists can use the AI to test like which creative visuals or like the hooks are gonna be performing best without wasting any money on trial and error? And it's pretty much like what you said, is teaching it, right, how to work around or evolve or adapt like your style, right? Is that what you're saying? Like the chat GPT? Are we talking about? Is it the chat GPT? Educate me, bro. Are we talking about, is it the chat GPT
I,
that
I
you wanted?
use I use ChatGPT a lot just because it's the one that I've personally invested the most time in. But you should feel open to test multiple different models, and there's different things that I use for different scenarios, right? So Google's platform is Gemini, and then obviously X or Twitter, whatever you need to call it nowadays, has Grok. A lot of times for like viral or more current things, Grok is actually the best, right? Because it has unlimited access to X itself, right? So all like the kind of current events and things of that nature, it's a little bit better than ChatGPT is with regards to that stuff. That's what I find at least. So ultimately, if you're trying to incorporate that in whatever you're doing, I'd be using Grok, right? But if I want something that knows me, knows my tone, knows my personality, and knows everything about my business, not just my business, but like it knows about my employees, it knows about my clients, it knows what we do for our clients, right? So now I don't like a lot of times on reels and things of that nature, you'll see here's this viral prompt that's producing XYZ result.
Yeah, yeah.
The reality is you don't actually need an overly specific prompt if the platform already knows the ins and outs of your personality and your business. The times when you need that is like it's your first time on the platform, you've literally never used it before. That's where you need kind of that like hyper engineered prompt. Whereas like if you just kind of spend time going back and forth with it and having it get to know you, and like for instance, my memory is completely full on ChatGPT. I literally can't remember anymore about me than it already knows,
That
right?
it already
Unless I
knows.
go in there and delete something and make room for like a new memory, right? So to me, that's the most important thing. And like that's what I cover with not only my clients, but also my employees because I have them using ChatGPT in their day to day as well.
Let me ask you, can you give me a sample prompt, like what you would tell Chat GPT to start familiarizing itself with one's personality?
Yeah, so really the prompt is going to be with regards to having it ask you what it needs to know, right? To produce the desired outcome. And then it's going to give you a thorough list of questions that's going to take you a bit of time to answer. And obviously the more thoroughly that you respond, the better the future output will be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. But can you
Cool.
give me I'm gonna but can you give me
So
a
like
quick, what
if
would be a
I
quick sample?
Yeah, so like I mean it because obviously I don't just use it for business, right? So I use it say for tracking, my PRs in the gym or whatever the case may be. So but regardless of what I want it to remember or get to know about me, obviously if we're speaking specifically about business, right? I'm going to say, first of all, it needs to know what am I looking to accomplish by having this conversation, right? So is it just kind of like a get to know me type of prompt? And if it is, then that's exactly what I would say. Like, hey, ChatGPT, please ask me any questions that you need to in order to familiarize yourself better with my business, xyz.com, right? I'm the founder. I would tell it some basic information. I'm the founder. I have X amount of employees. This is our core service. This is our core target audience. But anything above and beyond what I've already told you, please ask me whatever questions you need to know to familiarize yourself so that in the future I can refer to you so that I can create content, create ads, whatever it is you're looking to accomplish with the platform itself. And it's going to spit out a thorough list of questions, right? And it's going to ask you things that you didn't think of in terms of providing that information, right? And then once you provide that information, you'll start going back and forth with it, playing around with it, see if it gives you the output that you like. If it does, great. If it doesn't, then obviously you need to continue to give it more information. Um, and then, like I said, you'll get to a point where you've told it all you can tell it,
Everything
and the
you
memory
have.
the memory will literally be full. And that's kind of where I'm at with it at this point.
I have mine as my behavioral health coach. Trust ChatGPT for be a behavioral health coach. All right, I want to move on to sales and conversions. How
Yep.
can AI help artists understand their audience better so that they can craft ad copy and messaging that actually converts to booked clients?
Right. So, I mean, to a certain extent, ChatGPT does know what scalp micropigmentation is, right? So, you know, just kind of going back to what we just discussed, like you want to give it your unique perspective, your unique take on scalp micropigmentation so that when you're looking to create hooks and things of that nature and content that it is unique to you. And it also not only does it know what scalp micropigmentation is, it has access to every marketing and sales book there ever was, right? So, that's the reality of it is that it knows kind of the core principles when it comes to, the foundations of marketing and sales. And when it comes to like creating hooks and topics and things of that nature, there's other resources that you can use in conjunction with ChatGPT or whatever other AI model you're using. One that's real simple to remember is called Answer the Public. So if you go to Answer the Public, you'll be able to just literally type in scalp micropigmentation and it gives you like a topic wheel of questions that people are actually Googling about scalp micropigmentation, right? And then you're going to take those topics and feed them back into ChatGPT and saying, hey, ChatGPT, based on what you know about me and my personal perspective on scalp micropigmentation in general or hair loss in general, because obviously sometimes you're going to want to be broader than just the specific topic of scalp micropigmentation. How would you approach scripting some content around this, right? And then again, it's not going to spit out a perfect iteration on the first try. So you're going to kind of go back and forth with it, give it your opinion, and come up with something that you're happy with before you have a script that's kind of like a polished or a finished product, right?
I feel like even though when it cuts out, it gives you a script, like sometimes you don't even have to like spit it back to Chat GPT to like, polish it a little more. I feel like you can just go in there sometimes and then just yourself like do your own little alterations to it so it kind of really like embraces your personality. Do you think like that's a good like a good way to go about it, or should we just stick to giving it right back to Chat GPT and telling them, okay, well, this is what I think needs to be changed, XYZ?
Well, if you edit it right inside of ChatGPT, so this is obviously going to be people who are more familiar or people who are already using it. But essentially, if you edit it in what they call the canvas, which is essentially you're just editing the words, it's almost like as if you're operating on a Google Doc, but it's opened up inside of ChatGPT. It is going to read and remember the edits that you made for future. Is that, I don't know if I'm answering your questions or not.
No, you are. You still are, because it goes back to the whole having it recognize who you are. So it's gonna, once you do that, right, it's gonna give you the answers in your tone, your personality anyway.
Yep. And the one thing that I constantly am trying to do is trying to tell it not to agree with me just for the sake of agreeing with me, right? Because that's like a common thing that you'll hear about ChatGPT is like, it just agrees with you or whatever. And I'm like, listen, like don't agree with me just to be agreeable. I want you to give me pushback on everything I'm giving you. Like, so basically straw man my perspective, right? Meaning like, okay, I can see why you would think this, but here's the other side of that coin. So that this way you're using its knowledge and it's not being overly affirmative. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. It's a little heartbreaking too, because I felt really good about myself knowing that I was always right. But now that you now that you tell me that ChatGPT just agrees with everything, I don't know how I feel about that, but it makes sense.
But yeah, that is definitely like an effective use of it, right? Is to say, hey, like I'll straight up tell it, like, here's my thought on this. Now, steel man that argument and straw man that argument, meaning give me why my thought process is right, and also give me the somebody who would completely disagree with me, give me their argument as well, so that this way I can kind of look at both sides of that coin, right? So yeah, that's certainly an important thing to keep in mind. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to I mean, you'll know whether it's in your tone and whether it's in your personality or not, right? Because a lot of times it just comes out too polished for me,
Yeah,
right? Because I'm just
yeah.
not that
Super
polished of a
robotic.
guy, I guess you could say. So I'll be like, like give me a little bit more, grit in that, and just have it rewrite it for me before I go into the actual doc and the canvas and start rewriting it. So it is fine to rewrite in there and make edits in there, and I will do that. But at the same time, like if the entire thing is completely not in the tone that I want it to be, I'll just tell it to rewrite it in the tone that I want it to be in first, and then I'll go in there and fine tune it afterward, right?
Got you.
So yeah, and that's honestly, it's like more important than ever right now, especially when it comes to meta ads, because Meta has definitely gotten to a point where targeting is either less and less important or maybe even irrelevant altogether, right? And it's essentially doing its own targeting through the creative. So, being able to have like diverse types of creative uh, is certainly more important now than it ever has been, right? Because it used to be that we literally had a hair tattoo interest inside of Meta, right? And
Yeah.
technically we still do, but that's going away altogether in January. And honestly, even if you select that interest right now, it's my personal belief that Meta's no longer listening to you anyway. It's serving the ads to who it thinks is the most appropriate. And, the mindset that we used to have is kind of like whittling it down to the exact targeting group or exact creative or creatives that are producing the best for you. But now it's certainly definitely more kind of like broader targeting and utilizing different types of creative, right, to target the right segments of your audience rather than saying, hey, Meta, I want these ads to be shown to these people, right? This group of people who never heard of me, this people who are loosely aware of scalp micropigmentation, but they don't know about me, and this group of people who do know about scalp micropigmentation and they already know me, they just haven't become customers yet. That's how we used to divide it up.
Right.
But now the creative is ultimately what's determining what gets shown to who.
What would you say are some ways that AI could automate or improve the sales funnel? And I mean, like from generating leads to nurturing them through personalized messages.
Yeah, well, certainly a loaded question. But first and foremost, you can definitely use it for conversion rate optimization, right? And when I say conversion rate optimization, I don't mean to be overly technical. Essentially, what we're talking about there is looking at and sometimes making minor or maybe major changes to the website or landing page that the leads are ending up on when they click. And you can either send it the URL or send it a screenshot of the actual website or landing page that you're looking to optimize, and it will give you sound conversion rate optimization advice, right? Now, again, that's kind of a little bit loaded because you kind of have to have your own knowledge so that you can kind of go back and forth with it about the opinion that it gives you, because you don't necessarily just want to take what it says verbatim, right? But ultimately, even if you do kind of like the advice that it gives you and you make those changes, you're still going to have to test it with actual traffic to see, okay, out of 100 visitors, previously I was converting 5 out of 100 visitors. Then I made these changes that ChatGPT recommended, and now I'm converting 7 out of 100, or maybe it goes down a bit and you're only converting 3 out of 100, right? So that's kind of the way you would assess those changes, but it will give you sound advice for sure in terms of being able to help you rewrite your headlines or restructure the way that the page is formatted or the way that it's organized, right? Because it does know kind of best practices as far as conversion rate optimization is concerned on page. And that's obviously with regards to lead generation more than sales. But I'm sure there's kind of some other topics you wanted to delve into there before I get too far down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. But before we even do that, is there a way with what you just explained? How about if I wanted to give you, what if I wanted to give AI competitors landing page and have them screen that so that I know what to do with mine? Is that fair play or is that cheating?
Today, I want to talk to you about something crucial for your SMP business, where you get your tools. It's not just about having the right tools, it's about getting them from a source you can trust. And that's why I recommend Palms Fashion. Palms Fashion has been serving professionals since 1991, right here in the heart of New York City. Your tools and supplies are an investment in your craft and your success as an SMP artist. So don't just buy from anywhere. Trust the experts at Palms Fashion. Whether you're in New York City or shopping online at palmsfashioninc.com, they've got everything you need to take your business to the next level. Remember, trust the best, trust Palms Fashion.
Ever wonder what keeps me focused and energized during long SMP sessions and Scalp Solutions podcast? It's Wava Water. Wava isn't just water, it's a whole new experience. It combines lightly caffeinated sparkling water with binaural beats of sound frequencies and music. Together, they help boost creativity, productivity, and focus. And here's the best part. It's as refreshing as it is delicious. So, whether you're creating that perfect hairline for a client or tuning in to elevate your SMP game with the Scalp Solutions podcast, Wava Water keeps you refreshed and ready to perform at your best. Because great work starts with great tools and great hydration. Wava Water. Refresh your focus, boost your confidence. Find out more at wavawater.com.
It's not cheating. I mean, it's there for the taking, but you're also assuming that your competitor's landing page is working, which in many cases it won't be. So, that again, that's where I'll go back to the advice that I gave before. Like, hey, give me, the positives and the negatives. Give me constructive criticism about my competitor's landing page. What are they doing well? What are they not doing so well? And what can I do to make it unique to me and also make it even better than what my competitor is doing? I mean, obviously you can totally do that. And ultimately, the important thing is the unique part, right? You certainly don't want to copy and paste. Unfortunately, we've had that happen several times where people have
Of
literally
course.
copied and pasted our landing pages to the point where they didn't even bother to change the terms and conditions and privacy policy URLs. So
Unbelievable.
it was still our
Coming back
clients'
to you.
URLs, it on the landing pages. So definitely just make sure you're actually creating something unique. And that goes back to the first segment that we touched on, which is why it's good that we started with that, is, giving it your unique perspective. First of all, how you got into scalp micropigmentation in the first place, right? Your kind of your founder story is going to be something important for the AI to know about you. And B, you should really be creating an ad around that, right? Because people buy from people. They don't want to buy from corporations, right?
For sure.
So especially as like if you're an individual solo artist or just starting out, I mean, you as an individual, that's the advantage that you have, right? Over people who've been doing it longer or people who have multiple artists or a bigger organization or whatever the case may be. Your unique personality that somebody could potentially vibe with is the advantage that you have, right? So you want to make sure that the AI is fully aware of that and that you're creating content and ads around your unique story, how you came to be a scalp micropigmentation artist in the first place. Even if it is similar, right? Because obviously a lot of us, I know I got into it because I had it done, and that might be the way that a lot of people got into it. But certain people have a full head of hair and they're amazing scalp micropigmentation artists. So their founder story is going to be different. Maybe they're a barber, and they saw how many clients they could help, by adding this service to their repertoire or whatever the case may be. But that's where the uniqueness comes in, right? And that's why kind of like feeding that information into whatever AI model you're going to use at the beginning is important because, that founder story component is going to be A, it should be one of the ads that you're running, and B, it's going to be kind of like a central theme all the way throughout your landing page copy, your website, your video ads, your image ads, all that kind of good stuff is going to kind of be there throughout your marketing funnels.
For sure. I want to, excuse me. The next segment I want to get into is reactivations, right? Obviously, all on the
Mm-hmm.
AI. So, for artists that are sitting on lists of old leads or past clients, how can AI be used to rearrange them and bring them back into the chair?
Well, is it okay if I share my screen with you? Can I show you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, cool. Let me
We're
see
getting a
if I can.
period of instruction, guys. If you're listening, you're going to want to tune in to YouTube and see what's going on here. Let's see.
Okay.
Let's see if this guy's
Let me
desktop is
make
full with a bunch
sure.
of bald men pictures as well.
Okay. Um, First of all, is my audio okay?
Yes, sir. You sound
Okay.
amazing.
And you can see my screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. So this is a great example of using AI for the purposes of reactivation, right? So this is going to be really small down here, but basically this contact was originally created on February 25th of 2023 at 11:25, right? And basically, we can see that they came in originally from Google, right? So this is
Got it.
usually, and obviously you know this, David. This is usually like a high quality lead, right? High tier, but also at the same time, the keyword is a little top of funnel here, right? So this is what they actually searched before becoming a lead. What is scalp micropigmentation? So maybe they didn't know nearly as much about it as we would hope they would, right? Now, again, just going back to it, February 25th of 2023. Now, this is literally an AI reactivation that happened Sunday, March 31st of 2024. So over a year later, right, is when this reactivation happens. Um, the initial reactivation is pre-written, right? So this is not AI. This is like 3 individual text messages that we actually wrote and then sent out, right?
Got it.
Now, this is just to elicit the reply, right? Which it obviously did effectively at 8:31 p.m., right? Yes, I'm interested. And then this is an AI response. So this is not like a human. This is not a pre-written response. This is conversational AI. that, this CRM is integrated with ChatGPT. We feed ChatGPT information about scalp micropigmentation in general and about the specific business and about whatever offer they might be running, right? So basically, it
Got it.
responds immediately. This is Sunday evening, right? And the conversation goes cold. So the AI, right, not a person, not an appointment setter, not automation. The AI follows up the next morning, right, and checks in with the person, and it literally apologizes as if it's talking to someone, right? So without kind of reading every single text message here, eventually what ends up happening is they set up a consultation, and then after the consultation, they end up converting into a paying client, right? So this is a lead that, again, was generated from Google. So a lead that was paid for on Google Ads, right? February 2023. March of 2024 is when they were reactivated, ended up scheduling a consultation and converting into a paying new client. And it's actually, I think there might be one. Okay, cool. So if you see here, it says, I have had a consultation. I wasn't approved through Cherry. So that's why I waited. My credit is good, though, and I have money saved. So this is literally, and the reason I show all that, David, is not to kind of get too deep into the weeds, but really to kind of illustrate the fact that you probably have money sitting in your CRM, or even if you don't have a CRM, whether it's a spreadsheet of leads or whatever the case may be, you probably have money sitting there, right? Because the reality is, whether the leads came from Google or Meta or anywhere in between, people are at different stages in the buyer's journey, right? First time I heard about scalp micropigmentation was 2018 in my feed on Meta. It was probably Facebook at the time. And I didn't get it done until 2019. And I also didn't get it done by the first person that I saw it from or the first person that I opted in with, right? The other thing is, as we continue to run reactivations or retargeting campaigns or whatever the case may be, I was actually just going over this with one of our clients earlier today. I mean, we launched a new campaign last week, changed a couple of things as far as targeting and creative, and we had leads that were opting in that, I mean, we had the first day that they opted in, which was in this scenario 2021, right? And then they, for whatever reason, something about the new campaign creatives like got them to re-opt in as if it was brand new all over again, right? So literally 4 years later, they're re-opting in to an ad when we've been emailing them, texting them, not the entire 4 years, right? But periodically, a couple times a year, we've been following up with them. They haven't responded at all, and then they see a different creative, and then they opt in again as if it was brand new all over again. So
Is
it's just different people have different lengths of time as far as their buyer's journey, and especially with scalp micropigmentation as a service. I mean, it's sometimes hard to see the forest through the trees as an artist, especially if you've been in it a long time. But the reality is, there's still way more people that don't even know it's a thing than people that do, right? And you obviously could speak to that even better than I can.
for sure. And I kind of wanted to ask you, like, given that presentation there, because there are a lot of artists that are just like, I'm not doing it. This whole AI, it doesn't work. Because I think when people hear AI, they just automatically assume it's the voice, right? This is the voice that you're using, and it's not you answering the phone. But do you feel that artists are apprehensive in like really leveraging AI because they just genuinely don't know it and understand it? Or do you feel like they're just, I don't even want to say that it's scared. I feel like there's no way it's gonna fully take over the artist's position, right? Like AI is not gonna do the
100%.
SMP or the PMU. I'm just trying to understand the ignorance. And when I talk to some of my friends that are artists, I try and tell them this when they're like, man, F that, F AI, you don't need AI. I tell them, listen, you don't want to be the uncle that you now have in your family that knows absolutely nothing about computers and technology, because we all know there's one, right? Because he refused to change with the times. And that's what usually stuns them. And they go, oh, shit, like, you know what? In like 20, 30 years, when AI is literally everything, they're going to be like, I refuse to move with the wave. So like, why do you think artists are so apprehensive about it?
Well, so we have certain artists that are apprehensive about it that won't use it at all. We have others who we get them to dip their toe in the water by using it specifically for reactivations, right? And then we have other artists who use it only for off hours, right? So they only use it like on
Like
nights and
how I started.
weekends, which is a great use case.
Yeah.
And then we have others who use it account wide. They use it on every single lead because, I mean, we make it as simple as we have an AI off tag, right? So it's like if you want the AI to shut up, you literally apply the AI off tag and it removes them from the AI, and then you could take over the conversation manually at that point. But the way that I like to describe it is the AI, first of all, it depends on how you personally prompt it, right? So we give it a huge knowledge base about SMP in general, right? That we've built out. And then we also provide it with supplemental information that's specific to your business, right? So obviously we need to know the location, the artist name, the price range, whether or not they offer financing, any special offers, all that kind of good stuff. So we prompt it thoroughly, first of all, to give it, it's like other than what it already knows about S&P, we want to kind of give it specific guardrails to stay within, right? And then we also want to give it stuff that's regionally specific and specific to the business itself as well. And when you do it that way, and you're also kind of like proactive and you're able to kind of like keep an eye on those conversations as they're happening, and you're able to apply the AI off tag and then take it over manually, it can work really well, right? The times where it doesn't work that well is where people either A, just try to let it do everything because it's not ready for that just yet, or B, they like apologize for it, right? It's like, oh, sorry, that was my AI. It's like,
Yeah.
please don't do that. You know what I mean?
Guilty of that. Well,
I
when
know
when I started.
Yeah, and it's definitely, it's definitely the knee jerk reaction, but like the easiest way to circumvent that is like that's your AI assistant, right? So you could say, "Hey, that was my assistant. This is me, the artist Dave." You know what I mean? So like don't apologize for the AI because then that messes up the whole flow. As you saw it when I was just sharing my screen, like that person thought they were talking to a person until they actually started talking to a person, right? So there was never a point where we jumped in and said, "Hey, sorry, that was my AI. Now it's me actually having a conversation with you." That f's up the flow of the whole conversation, right? The idea is to prompt it in a way where it responds in a human-like fashion, right? And there's a couple of different tricks that you can do with regards to that. You can have it break up larger messages, or you can have it intentionally have typos, right? So it's not perfect. You can put a time delay on how quickly it responds, because if it spits out 2 paragraphs in 1 second with 14 emojis, then it's AI, right? So
Yeah.
different.
Or it's
There's
got the
different.
dashes. The dashes.
Yeah, the
Everyone
M
knows the
dash, the M
dashes.
dash.
The
Yeah,
M dash.
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, so you can literally prompt it and say, please do not use M dashes, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And really, you still have to be engaged in the process, because at the end of the day, like if you're using high level or our customized version of it or any variation of it, like you can set it up to where it'll conversationally be able to book, right? So you don't have to send them a booking link. It's able to literally read your availability on your calendar and conversationally schedule that appointment, which is amazing, to be honest with you. And it works way better than dropping a link in terms of conversion rate, right? Like if I say, "Hey, Dave, are you available at either 10 a.m. on Thursday or 2 p.m. on Friday?" That works way better than being like, grab a spot on the artist's calendar using this link. The follow through on that is way lower. You know what I mean? So
That's a gem right there. That's a gem right there.
yeah. So booking conversationally, it just converts way higher. And even if, like, let's say the AI gives it those 2 slots because that's the way you prompted it. And even if the person doesn't have that availability, they'll say, "Oh, I'm not available either of those times, but I could do Friday at noon." So then the conversational AI is going to read the artist's calendar and say, "Okay, it's either open at noon or oh no, he's already got a consultation at noon. And let's say he does already have a consultation, it'll respond back and say, it looks like we're already booked at noon, but I do have 12:30. Does that work? And then once the person confirms, it'll literally insert it right onto the high level calendar, and then it'll go right into the reminder sequence, right? So for that aspect of it, it's time to get comfortable with it in some form or fashion, right? Whether you're using it for every single lead or just nights and weekends, like I discussed, or maybe only for reactivations, it's time to at least dip your toe in the water so you can get a feel for how it works so that you can, be used to it, because ultimately, it's something that gives you a competitive advantage, whether you like it or not, right? And I think what I was saying to you earlier is it's responding to every single lead in real time. So even if it only responds to every single lead in real time 80% as well as you, it's still going to perform way better than you because it's responding to every single lead in real time where you're not, right? So let's say you're 100% with your answers, but your real-time response rate is only 65%, right? So you're doing it perfectly on 65% of the leads, where it's doing it immediately on 100% of the leads, but only 80% as well as you could theoretically do it, right? And that's the thing that people need to get over. That's the hurdle that they need to clear in order to understand, okay, I need to implement this, right?
Yeah, for sure, man. Like I said, and you've said it yourself, like we can go so far down into the rabbit hole with this. And I love that this is gonna be kind of like an intro. And I'm interested to see what's the reception gonna be like from the community and what else they're gonna want to hear. And hopefully you're gonna allow me to extract it from you, because even me right now, I'm getting caught up in between being a host and just like I'm sitting here and just being a student. So I gotta keep telling myself like I'm I'm absorbing everything you're saying, but I gotta remember like, hey, I have another question for him while I'm here, just like, oh, okay. Like I kind of wish. Well, actually, I have the video, but I feel like I should have been here with a notepad, taking everything down with this period of instructions. But anyway,
Or we'll take the transcription and dump it into ChatGPT and have it give you
exactly.
a nice
There we
bulleted
go.
list.
There we go. That's AI right there. That's a gem right there. Before we wrap it up, James, I'm going to give you a scenario. I'm new to all of this AI stuff. I
Mm-hmm.
just heard our podcast. I'm still lost. What do I do now? Who do I call?
Just literally just go into ChatGPT and start having a conversation with it, right? Just start talking to it. If you really don't want to do it on your own, obviously, our DMs are open. You can always check my link in bio on Instagram or go to sevenfiguresmp.com and we'll be happy to kind of point you in the right direction. We do, of course, offer free consultations. So if you are a practicing scalp micropigmentation artist, we can't help you get certified. We get a lot of people who opt in who ask us about certification. And of course, we point them in the right direction because we do work with right around 200 artists. But ultimately, we're not going to be able to certify you or anything like that. But we are happy to help you, point you in the right direction in terms of, generating leads and converting them into paying new clients, regardless of whether we're a fit to work together or not. Because ultimately, a lot of people are not at that stage yet, and that's okay. And that's the reason why, when we do these podcasts together, David, I won't be holding anything back because, anybody who is in a position to work with us is going to know that even with AI, that this is still a lot of work, right? Or if somebody who's not in a position to work with us, then I'd rather them have the information that they need to be able to implement it on their own, because at this point they have more time than any other resource. So they have the time to be able to do it on their own. And I'd rather them just be able to implement it, right? So
For sure.
if I could sum that up, the easiest thing to do is just go start having a conversation with ChatGPT about what you're looking to accomplish in scalp micropigmentation and tell it, how you got into the space and what your unique perspective on it is and all that kind of good stuff, so that you kind of have the foundation to be able to do whatever it is you want to do, whether you want to write a follow-up sequence or write emails, right? You might write weekly emails. Now, think about this as a use case, right? Weekly email If you wanted to write a year's worth, you would have to write 52 unique emails, which sounds crazy, right? That sounds like a lot of work if you had to do it on your own.
For sure.
But if you've
If
given
you're actually typing it.
ChatGPT what you're looking to accomplish, your experience level, your kind of, reviews, your expertise, and you ask it and you give it some topics by going to Answer the Public, to have it generate 52 emails, to have a weekly email, to be able to nurture every single lead for a year, right, is extremely doable, right? And then building that sequence out inside of High Level is something that is also something that ChatGPT can give you guidance on if you have your own account, right? Again, I don't know if you want to do that, right? But if you do, it can certainly help. If you don't, we can certainly do it for you. So either way is fine with us.
Outstanding. James, I appreciate you, brother. I look forward to trying to get you back on again, because listen, we're not done with this masterclass. All right. I know you the Facebook ads guru, but I know when it comes to AI, you also the man as well. But I would love to have you back on to continue, dropping a little bit of sauce. You told me the gates are wide open. So, James, like I said, brother, I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on the podcast. I appreciate for the conversation we had outside of the podcast where you said, Dave, you could ask me whatever questions you want. And I'm going to freaking hold you to that. All right. Hopefully I could get you on like 2 or 3 more times. Okay. But I appreciate you, bro.
All right. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you, bro.
You got it, guys. That's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Scalp Solutions podcast. Until the next time. Peace.
If you're a PMU or SMP trainer, I know you've worked hard to build your own unique training style. So why trust someone else's curriculum? Here's why. Micropigmentation educators didn't just create another course. They built a system that actually strengthens your brand. Their program teaches real fundamentals rooted in facts, not opinions or product bias. Just the kind of foundations your students really need. They take care of the theory, the textbooks, the online course, scoring matrix, testing, even trainer support, so you can stay focused on hands-on education. It's professional, proven, and ready to plug into your business. Check it out at www.mpeducators.com.